Well, boys and girls, we have come to our very last chapter in Who Was PT Barnum. We are ending our biography unit and starting anew tomorrow. The last chapter is chapter 10, and it is called The End of the Show. Here we go. In 1888, Taylor briefly considered running for president, but he didn't have quite enough support within his political party, and he was not nominated. Taylor decided that he was finally done with politics. The next year, Taylor and Nancy moved into a new home. He was nearly 80, but he was working on making yet another dream of his come true. He wanted to bring the greatest show on earth to England. It took time, money, and a lot of planning to figure out how he would get a whole show, performers, animals, and crews onto ships, but it was worth the effort. The three-ring circus was a big hit in London. Taylor had a great time. By then, he was a well-known figure in England, and he enjoyed meeting old friends, making new ones, and telling stories about his adventures. In 1890, Taylor published a book called Funny Stories Told by Phineas T Barnum. He had never stopped writing. Each year, he had published an additional chapter to his autobiography, so it was always up to date. He made Nancy promise that when he died, she would publish a final chapter that would include his last days and end the story. The autobiography was one way for Taylor to make sure he got a chance to tell his story his way. When his business partners wanted to make a big statue of Taylor, he agreed on one condition, that the statue not be revealed while he was alive. Taylor loved the finished statue. Then he ordered it put away into a warehouse. Taylor had a stroke in November 1890 and never fully recovered. He spent his last months at his seaside home watching the ocean along the Connecticut coast and greeting the many visitors who came to see him. He happily gave interviews to reporters. Phineas Taylor Barnum died on April 7, 1891. He was buried in his beloved town of Bridgeport. The statue that had been made years before was brought out of the warehouse. It was put in Seaside Park, a Bridgeport park that Taylor helped build. Taylor was successful because he knew how to get people excited and interested in new ideas, whether a fake mermaid or an unknown Swedish singer. He believed that you could never advertise too much, and he believed in putting on a good show. Advertisers today still use Taylor's ideas. Movie studios always release trailers for new movies months before the movies open, in the same way that Taylor built up excitement months before Jenny Lind came to the United States. He also did this when he planted letters in the newspapers to introduce people to the Fiji mermaid. Today, he might have been the king of viral videos and a master of Twitter. His legendary showmanship remains unrivaled. Phineas Taylor Barnum loved his audiences and loved entertaining people. His shows, museums, books, and circus ideas brought scientific curiosities and a whole lot of fun to millions of people during his lifetime. The little boy who loved his grandfather's practical jokes became one of the world's greatest entertainers. In December 2017, a movie called The Greatest Showman was released. It starred Hugh Jackman as P.T. Barnum and became one of the surprise hits of the year. And that is the end of our book. As you know, our Who Was book always ends with a little timeline. So I'll let you take a peek at that timeline of his life. That's just some information for you. And I hope you enjoyed our book, Who Was P.T. Barnum. Get ready for our next read aloud, starting tomorrow. Great job, boys and girls.